Welcome to Lethal Company Highquota School for version 56. This class covers 4 semi-in-depth chapters and 1 appendix. There will be a final exam and it is open notes. Chapter 1. Items. The Weed Killer. It costs 40 credits in the shop and has a multitude of uses. Spray Weed Killer into the cruiser to heal the cruiser, and it could also give it boosts. This is the main function of it. You could also use it to spray the Kidnapper Fox's vein shrouds to reduce the number of them on the map, if you feel like the fox is just too difficult to handle. Why would you do that though? It's just not necessary. You could also use it for a global sound signal that can be used for whatever purpose required, like finding items without having a walkie-talkie around. The cruiser, also probably the lifeline of most V56 runs and above. It costs 370 credits in terminal, even though it displays 400, and it can transport all items to and from ship all at once without a single carry limit. This includes items popped from shop and in the facility. Next up is the shovel. It costs 30 credits in the store and deals 1 damage, well, kinda, when it strikes an enemy that can receive damage. It also weighs 14 pounds. Next up are signs. Signs are scrap found within the facility and are basically rebranded shovels with just heavier weights. There is a stop sign which has a manageable weight of like 21 pounds. And then there's also a yield sign, which is nearly unmanageable with a weight of 42 pounds. It's weird because in comparison, you're supposed to stop at a stop sign and yield at yield signs, but there's not always a need to stop at yield signs. And there's also more metal on the stop sign than the yield sign. Kinda weird. Moving on. Next up are the kitchen knives. They're harvested by murdering butlers, and they're just another rebranded shovel that can hit very, very fast. It still does 1 damage per hit though, except on butlers. Next up are shotguns. Do I really even have to explain this? It's a fucking gun. Take it and shoot your enemies, at least the ones that can actually die. It is also harvested from nutcrackers, and that alone. The Pro Flashlight. It's a flashlight bought on the store for 25 credits, and it's just a superior version of the Pickle Light in almost every single way. It has a very unique tech that will be explained later, known as the Infinite Flashlight. Next up is the Lockpicker. It costs 20 credits and is a way to unlock any locked door for free and is 100% reusable. It takes 30 seconds to unlock any door, and I find it best to use it when you have a path with a locked door that you can kind of skip for the time being, so that there is time for overlap with the Lockpicker. Next up are keys. They're small, kinda scrap found lying around facilities and are worth picking up and taking to the next day if possible. It can save 30 seconds over using the lockpicker, but are a one-time use. They could also be used to break stormy weather. Next up we have the jetpack. It costs 900 credits and is mostly used for quick transportation between ship and facility. It has other uses like baiting giants around the map to clear paths, but the main use is bringing one-handed scrap back to ship after the cruiser has been jumped. Next up and finally are Easter eggs. I would not recommend touching these unless you are host. or unless you know lineups, or unless you want to gamble. If you're host, pick up the egg and take it to cruiser or ship. Crouch, set your FPS to 30, hold looking forward, look down at the ground, and then drop, and then set your FPS back. If you're on client, you can basically stand still and jump in a corner to sync your character to the host's quote-unquote server side. Then you're going to pull your egg in your hand and then drop. You should be fine after. That is kind of just an oversimplification, but it's good enough. Chapter 2, Section 1, Indoor Entities. The Bunker Spider. The spider can take 5 hits before it dies. Once spawned, it will place webs around the facility in its territory. Once all webs are placed, it will climb onto a wall and sit there until an employee comes in contact with a web or gets in really close proximity to the walled spider. The Snare Flea. It takes 3 hits before it dies and will pathfind to a random point in the facility and perch on the ceiling at that location. When an employee walks underneath or gets too close, it will drop down and suffocate them until either the player is dead or until it is dead. It can be removed or killed by leaving the facility while it is attached to your head. The Thumper. It takes 4 hits before it dies, and it will rapidly move around the facility, gaining speed in straight lines. When it hits a wall or it turns, it will slowly lose speed, and it must rebuild it up again. If it gets too close to an employee, it will quickly bite them until it dies or it loses line of sight. The Hoarding Bug. It takes 3 hits before it dies, and it will roam the facility looking for loot, such as keys, scrap, and other items that you can even buy from the store, and it will bring it back to its nest. Sometimes it will get right back to the nest and guard its items. Otherwise, it will become aggressive, buzz, fly, and chase you if you decide to steal from the nest, get too close for too long, hit the loot bug, or if one of the items that it had in its nest is gone. The Masked. The Masked or the Mimic can take 4 hits before it dies. It will behave kind of like an employee and it will move around the facility freely, entering and exiting at will. It can grab players and kind of infect them, turning them into another mask. This can be manipulated though. The Slime. The slime has infinite health and it will move around the facility very slowly toward an employee's last known location. This can effectively lead to it camping exits and entrances, which can almost lead to instant death if not very fast to respond. It can open doors, but it can be pushed by other indoor entities. The Spored Lizard. It has infinite health and it will wander facility and kind of rattle and run away after it spots a player. If the player is too close, it will release pink smoke cloud to reduce visibility. If cornered and close enough, it can even bite the player. The Coilhead. The Coilhead also has infinite health. It wanders the facility slowly, or rather quickly, after it spots a player. When not being looked at, it will sprint towards the noticed player, but it will freeze immediately once being observed. It's like a weeping angel. In newer versions though, it will chase for about 9 to 15 seconds and then stop and recharge for about 10 to 15. The Jester. It has infinite health and will roam the facility until it spots a player. Once done, it will follow them for about 13 to 42 seconds depending on whether or not you're in multiplayer, after which it will begin winding up for about roughly 30 seconds. Once this is finished, it will pop and rapidly chase all players until everyone is either left the facility or dead. It will then reset and repeat the cycle. The Barber. It has infinite health and will wander facility until it detects a player. It will lunge at nearby players, signaled by a loud snare drum. Any contact with the Barber, lunged or not, results in instant death. It cannot open doors, but can eventually phase through them. It also becomes faster as the day progresses. You can only really see it as well once you get into close proximity. The Butler. It can either take 2 or 8 hits depending on whether or not you're in multiplayer. It appears harmless at first and it will sweep the floor. If one player is nearby for about 12 seconds, it will pull out a knife and begin attacking, dealing 10 damage per hit until the player is dead or until another is seen. Nearby butlers can also become aggressive if one is triggered. When killed, it will drop a kitchen knife and spawn butler bees. The knife can one-shot future butlers. Butler bees. They are a slower indoor variant of bees and can deal 10 damage per hit and cannot be killed. The Nutcracker. It takes 5 hits before it dies and will wander around the facility for about 8-20 seconds, stop, and scan its surrounding with a wide field of view. If it detects any player movement, which includes walking, crouching, or even any mouse movement, it will begin to fire its shotgun. It will shoot twice and reload, and at low health it can instantly reload a single shot. It will continue targeting a player until it dies or escapes far enough. When killed, it will drop a shotgun and 2 shells. The Ghost Girl. The Ghost Girl has infinite health and she will target a player, usually the one with the highest fear, and stalk them, appearing behind them with audio cues like laughing or breathing. After repeated interactions or avoidance, she will begin skipping toward the player. If the player makes contact, they will die. She could also leave and enter the facility kind of like the Mast. Leaving or entering the facility, though, will also temporarily force her to disappear for about 30 seconds. The Bracken. The Bracken can take 5 hits before it dies. It quietly stalks players from behind and will attempt to snap their neck if left unchecked. If seen, within the center portion of the player's screen, it will growl and run away for about 23 seconds. The timer starts once line of sight is broken and resets if it is seen again. It has an internal anger system. If it becomes too aggressive, it will rush the player. If hit and no players are inside, it will immediately aggro main. When players are not in the facility or elevated off the ground, it will return to its nest, which is the farthest point from main. It always knows where the player's positions are and where they're facing. That being said, this behavior is really complex. It's recommended to watch advanced guides. Chapter 2, Section 2, Outdoor Entities. Manticoil. Manticoils are passive birds found outside, and their only real danger they pose are alerting eyeless dogs if they take off nearby. Otherwise, they can just be ignored. Roaming locusts. Roaming locusts are passive surface bugs that pose no threat to the player. They could also be ignored. Tulip snakes. Tulip snakes take 1 hit to kill, and they roam the map outside until they spot a player. Then they lunge and attach to them for 30 to 60 seconds. If 2 or more attach, they can lift the player into the air after a short delay, which can result in fall damage. Each snake adds weight when attached, but they can also be used to reach high areas or transport loot more quickly. The physics also act like a jetpack. Circuit bees. Circuit bees are usually attached to their hive, and once a player gets into close proximity of the hive, the circuit bees will of course charge the player until that player has either lost line of sight or has dropped the hive and gotten away. If the circuit bees have lost their hive, they will enter a roaming mode and will randomly roam the map looking for it. They will be aggressive and will kill the player if they get into line of sight, constantly following them. It will once again become tame once they find their hive. Eyeless dogs. Eyeless dogs cannot see, but they have good hearing. They would charge toward any noise, which is including walking, running, using clown horns or air horns, and even other entities outside, and will instantly kill players. They take 12 shovel hits to kill, and can deal damage to other entities. Baboon hawks. Baboon hawks are usually more annoying than dangerous, but when they are in groups they can become kind of lethal. They are territorial and may attack to defend their nest or just area in general. They can steal items and carry them away. They can take 4 shovel hits to kill and deal 20 damage per hit. The Forest Keeper. The Forest Keeper, also known as the Giant, are tree-looking creatures, and if not dealt with correctly, they can end your run. They run at the player and pick them up and eat them. They can die in numerous different ways though, like fire from old birds, eggs, and lightning. You can deal 38 shovel hits to kill them, and even many baboon hawks just walking around just shitting on them can kill it. They can see from very far distances, so it's preferred to stay out of line of sight. Find a way of looping them, or even just find places that they can't reach. The Earth Leviathan, or the Worm, travels underground and signals its presence with rumbling sounds and ground particles. After a short delay of 1 to 3 seconds, it will burst from the ground and kill anything in the area. It can't be killed, but it can kill anything within its vicinity. The Old Bird. The Old Bird is probably the best thing you could probably see. It is a powerful mechanical robot that will attack everything. It cannot be killed normally, but once active, it can clear outside threats. It will use missiles to shoot at outside entities and can grab and burn players. Keep it away from the cruiser and make sure it doesn't land on you. And finally, we have the Kidnapper Fox. It patrols outside areas with the areas defined by vein shrouds, and it can instantly kill players. It takes 7 hits to kill, and you should probably just avoid its territory whenever possible. And if you can't avoid it, try to bypass it. Chapter 3, Section 1, Outdoor Routes. On Adamants there are many routes. Here are just a few that are kinda good. You can take this bridge here all the way from ship to main. And main's right there. You can then take main over here. You can either take the bridge right back, right here. You should have a little bit less weight, but that's fine. Or you can take this way, where you jump on the wall here and hug it to get up here. If you couldn't make it up here, it's fine, but you're going to basically take that direction up. You can come over here. If you didn't make it, just jump on this side of the wall and you'll get up. And just continuing the path, it just follows up around, and the ship's just right there. You could also take this route back to ship by going through the pit. You basically follow up this ramp here, and you'd go all the way up. You could also take this small shortcut here, and you'll arrive right at the ship. The route to fire is also pretty simple. You're basically going to hug left as soon as you leave ship and climb up this hill. You're then going to make this jump here on the bridge, and just over this, on the left, you should have the fire entrance. Exit, fire exit. What you can do now is come over here to get from fire back to the ship. There's a little ledge here, and you're just going to run up and drop your items here. In order to get up there though, you're going to want to come over to this tree, and you're just going to basically run and just hug the wall until you get up here. After that, you're just going to climb this little ledge here, and ship's just ahead. To get from fire to main, or vice versa, you're going to basically hug right of fire and then go along this hill. It's the safest route. It may be a little slow, but it's fine. And then here you should see the large facility box, and main's right in front of us. Assurance routes. There are so many here in so many different variations. It's weird. To get from ship to main, you're going to basically climb this hill and walk off. It's the fastest path. I recommend taking it basically no matter what. And then you're going to reach this ladder over here, and you're right at main. To get from main back to the ship, you're basically going to retrace your steps to where you fell off that small cliff and continue hugging right. To get from ship to fire, you're going to come to the right of the ship, exit, and come over to this ladder here. You're going to climb it all the way up to the top, make a couple jumps onto the pipe here, and fire is just ahead on the left. To get from assurance fire to the ship, you can either fall down this little cliff here and hug the left way you went all the way back to ship. Take this pipe over here to about halfway. You're up here. You're going to fall down, and you're basically going to come over to this oil tank and basically climb the hill following this train car, and you're going to hug the right on top of this little rock and jump onto the ship. If you want to go from fire to main, you just hug this pipe here all the way to that ladder, and then you'll be at main. Artifice routes are also pretty cool. Well, I mean, not really cool. There are just a few of them that are actually just good. In which case, you're going to basically jump off the ship here and walk forward across the center. It is the fastest way to get to either main or fire. And as you can see, main is just up here. From main to ship, you can either head back through center, or if you want a safer route, you can go around the right here and hug the right fence back. Another route you could also take is going up through this grating and through the warehouses back to ship. From main to fire, you're basically going to hug the left side of the facility here, and you'll see a little spot right here which is fire. It's pretty close. From fire back to ship, you can either go back through the center if you really wanted to, or you can hug this left side here till you see a little shed. And you're going to enter right here. It's a pretty short walk. And then walk through the shed, and there should be a little cubby hole in which you're going to crouch through, and you're going to walk all the way around back to ship. If you wanted to take this route to the fire, you'd basically climb this hill. It's slightly faster, and fire is just over there. Chapter 3, Section 2, Weather. Clear. Clear weather, written as mild on the radar, is exactly as stated. There is no weather, and it is just a normal day from start to finish. Rainy. Rainy weather is like clear weather, but you have mud puddles on the ground that will suck you down to hell and kill you. Now, this strategy will shock you, but the absolute peak strategy you can do to combat these puddles is to hold S. Foggy. Foggy weather is a more difficult version of clear days as the visibility is reduced. The difficulty stems from needing to remember the moon's layout more intimately, and the outside threats like eyeless dogs and giants become much more dangerous without their visual cues. Stormy. Stormy weather can be really easy or just unfair. It adds two events to the day: random strikes and targeted strikes. Random strikes randomly pick a spot on the map and strike lightning there with no warning. Targeted strikes lock onto electrically conductive items outside the facility and strike those items after a few seconds. On some versions, you can actually break Stormy by leaving metallic objects like keys outside the moon before leaving. This can prevent targeted strikes from occurring on future Stormy days. You will need to do this again upon lobby resets or file changes. The worst part on Stormy days is the random strikes. If you get struck by RNG strikes, then tough luck, you're dead. Beyond that, Stormy days are more of a nuisance than difficult. Flooded. Flooded weather brings two variations, reverse and normal. Normally the water will slowly rise throughout the day, eventually blocking off paths that are faster, requiring players to take suboptimal routes back. Reverse flooding occurs only on Dine and Adamants. On these moons, the water will begin at its highest point and slowly drain throughout the day, allowing for better paths to be taken later on. Finally, eclipsed. Eclipsed weather is by far the deadliest. The day begins as if it was already 8 p.m., causing indoor and outdoor entities to spawn earlier than usual. This means earlier giants and dogs, along with potential 8 a.m. coils, brackens, and jesters. However, it also opens up possibilities for more nutcrackers and butlers to spawn. The question is the trade-off worth it? Chapter 3, Section 3, Indoor Facility Types. Factory. The factory interior is the generic interior for most moons. It features long brick hallways and metal-grated catwalks, and some unique-looking loot rooms. They tend to be rather simple layout-wise, and scrap generates in a very predictable manner. The long brick progress are rooms where scrap does not generate naturally, but it can if it happens to be kind of close to other rooms. Typically, most loot spawns in the catwalks, locker rooms, belt rooms, and storage rooms. Mansion. The mansion interior is the second main type of interior. All rooms are considered loot rooms, meaning skipping out on rooms because you assume the game didn't spawn loot there is not good. It features a ballroom-like entrance with chandeliers in the main entrance, and rooms are often furnished with bookshelves, tables, fireplaces, and smaller bookcases. Some notable rooms include a kitchen, a two-floor library, and a window room, as they tend to contain a denser scrap spawn. Likely influenced by my availability heuristic though. In newer versions, version 70 and above, additional changes were made to the previous rooms, and new rooms were added like the pool, conservatory, and the bathroom. Chapter 4, Section 1, Looting Efficiently. When it comes to looting efficiently, there are many strategies used across versions, some of which are combined depending on the situation. Interior routing are really consistent, with the idea being finding a wall and hug it until you meet up with another player or reach a desired stopping point. Exterior routing is dependent on team size and the moon. In solo, send main at the beginning of the day, and about 12 to 3 p.m., send fire for the rest of the day. In duos, it becomes more moon dependent. On Adamants, for example, one should go main and the other fire, where areas Artifice, both players start main and end fire like in solo. In trios, it is common to do a 1-2 split, with 2 players going to fire, and on squads it becomes a 2-2 split. In any case, it is recommended to create loot piles on the way back to your exit, while moving deeper into the facility. It serves as a reminder of the return path, it reduces backtracking, and increases the efficiency of loot transport. This is not applicable to version 73 Dion and above. Chapter 4, Section 2, Tech. There is a bunch of useful tech and tricks that can be used, but I'm only really going to cover the biggest of them that can save runs or just make things more convenient. Scan spamming. You can copy and paste the word scan upon loading into a moon. If the total item count increases, then there's a high chance of beehives being present. In a very rare case, a nutcracker could just so happen to spawn very early on, leading to that same item count increasing. Teammate status checking. You can send a blank message in chat, usually just a space, and press enter. If the chat function states that players are too far away to see the message, you know that at least one player is still alive, albeit unknown. If the chat function shows no message at all, it means your teammates are all dead and you're the last one alive, or your teammates are close by and you can confirm their status over voice chat. Sacrifices and baiting. Late in the day, some paths can be dangerous or inefficient due to entity placement or pathing. In some cases, it is beneficial to sacrifice a player or bait an entity away from a particular route to allow for safer passage. You can't sacrifice a player in solo, but you can still bait entities away. It just requires a much safer playstyle. Ladder clipping. You can use an extension ladder to push yourself into some walls, counters, and tables to retrieve bug or inaccessible items. This is done by looking down at the ground and using a ladder. As it begins to extend, it will push you forward into the clipped area, allowing access to otherwise unreachable items. Item juggling. It's a technique used to take multiple items beyond the carry limit with you, and it is often used with 2 or even 3 two-handed items at once. To perform this trick, pick up an item. You're going to flick left and then drop that same item. After dropping the first item, you're going to flick right and grab the second item. Flick left and then drop, and then repeat this same cycle. You can do this sequence while walking or even running with enough weight if you're actually skilled. Infinite flashlight. It's a technique used to allow non-host players to gain access to the flashlight for free without any of the drawbacks of the weight or the inventory slot usage. It will need to be redone upon death, rejoining of a lobby, or touching another flashlight or laser pointer. To perform this, pick up the flashlight and turn it on. While holding it, place it into the ship's cabinets. As the flashlight is just about to be put in the cabinets, scroll off the flashlight to another slot. You know you will have done it correctly if the flashlight disappears from your inventory and it is invisible to you in the cabinets. The host should then pick up the flashlight, turn it off, and put it back in the cabinets or drop it on the floor. Are killing enemies really hard? How about a spot that trivializes it on facility? Simply jump onto this metal bar in the staircase room. Wait for an entity to get closer to you, and then take your shovel and smack them dead. Easy. To perform the cruiser jump, first make sure the cruiser has all 5 boosts. The orange bar should be completely full. You want to turn the cruiser on, put it into reverse, and drive all the way back to the hill, and gently tap it. You also want to make sure the cruiser is very parallel to the facility as much as possible. Once positioned, you're going to drive slightly forward and begin the jump sequence. For each jump, you want to hold the listed movement keys and press the space at the same time. The input sequence is A plus space in quick succession, followed by a W plus A plus space, and an A plus space again. After all 4 of those jumps are done, you want to do any additional alignment jump as needed to make sure the cruiser hits the magnet. Here I did an AA, WA, A, and an S for my sequence this time. Appendix A, Bonus Insight. Bonus topic. The days on each moon are roughly 12 minutes and 30 seconds long from start to finish. This means you truly have about 12 minutes to get everything you want back to the ship or onto cruiser and get that cruiser back to ship. If you're having trouble understanding what time it is in game, or specifically when it hits 12 p.m., you can use timer tricks. If you start a timer or a stopwatch just after you pull the lever, after 3 minutes, it should be effectively 12 p.m., give or take, depending on when you started the timer or stopwatch. You could also add roughly 45 seconds to the timer to account for each additional in-game hour. That being said, over time and with enough experience, you can usually estimate what time it is without the use of said timer. I know this is not everything I could have covered, but it should be satisfactory enough. Now, it's time for your final exam. There is only one question. Yippee! Here it is. How many times was a Terraria character shown in this video? Was it A, 4 times, B, 3 times, C, 7 times, or D, 22 times? Ding ding ding, time is up. If you said anything other than E0, then you'd be wrong. Good luck next time.